Joshua trees out the window.
So many right now.
Really, really pretty. Okay. So pretty.
Would you, could you?
Would you, could you believe it now? A podcast about strange journeys, hidden truths, and wild beliefs. With Sammy.
And Rob.
So this is another episode of Would You, Could You Believe It Now with Sammy.
And Rob.
And we're talking about perception today, but we're also going to give a quick overview from our time at Contact in the desert. We were there over the weekend. It was lots of fun. And we didn't film there because they were really strict about who could film and who couldn't. So we thought like, oh, we'll film in like our hotel room in between. There was no time for that. So we filmed a little bit on the drive out and a tiny bit on the drive back. And now we're just going to do a little recap for you. But we went to a lot of lectures about psionics. And so we have a lot from those lectures to contribute to perception. Yeah.
They had some alien stuff too.
Yeah, there was alien stuff too. And it was cool, but I was really excited that they had a lot of the psionic stuff because that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
And kind of perfect timing for our perception episode.
Perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Jack's here.
Jack is here. Jack is on my lap.
Can you see him?
Probably not. Probably not. But...
Oh, we gotta show Jack. There he is. You gonna pet him? There you go, Jack. Okay. Let's get on with it, because we only have 20 minutes of battery. Okay.
Don't have a lot of battery time.
So, Contact in the desert. I guess we'll start off quick. What was your favorite part?
I would say my favorite part was... Shoot. There were a lot of favorite parts. I liked all of it. I liked a lot of it. I liked when Chris Bledsoe talked about his life story, even though I kind of heard it already.
Mm.
But, man, I got the pamphlet in front of me, too. I would say Dr. Diane Hennessy.
Yeah.
Had some really good stuff.
Which, FYI, if you didn't know, we went to her lecture, and she normally goes by Dr. Hennessy Powell, but in her presentation, she said that she divorced her husband a while ago and has actually dropped Powell, but she's just now starting to phase in her new name, which is Diane Hennessy.
And she's the telepathy tape lady for you guys
yes.
that
if you don't know.
So. But yeah, they had a live demonstration that we saw of
the psionic demonstration.
Someone, she was like blindfolded like 8 times, had not night vision. They were like no vision goggles, pretty much.
No, it was the mind. It's called the Mind Sight mask. It's like a really thick, dense blindfold. Jack.
Yeah, so her eyes were covered like 8 times, and pretty much like, they were like, guess the color. This guy was like running around with little note card colors or whatever, and she like guessed every color, and then she guessed like the colors behind that color too a couple times. Then they were running around with like squares, circles, triangles, rectangles.
They had like cards, like a deck of cards, and they would go to an audience member, have the audience member pull one out at random, and then she would view it with her mind's eye essentially, and she was correct every time. So they were trying to demonstrate the ability to perceive without the eyes.
Yeah, which is pretty good, and that wasn't even like the most interesting part, I don't think, because that was just the mother of someone who...
It was Leto from the telepathy tapes. Her and her mother were there.
Yeah.
And so her mother was actually the one that was demonstrating mind sight. That's what they call it.
Right. And with 100% accuracy, I will say.
Yeah,
I think they did at least like 12 to 15 different tests. They even did one where this like random guy, I'm pretty sure he's random. I mean, still could have been planted, but like he opened up the book and was like, all right, read this right here. What does this say?
To a random chapter.
Just to a random chapter and a random spot in the book. And she followed along with his finger the whole time. And then she also... It was like, do you want me to read the paragraph under that too? And he was like, yeah, I guess. And then she did it. So
something that was interesting, and I will say a lot of people were very skeptical. Also because right before this, the fire alarm or some kind of alarm went off, which was really weird. And it was only in that room. And I guess it had happened in that room the day before. And everyone was like, okay. And they were telling us we had to evacuate the room. So everyone had to get up and start walking out of the room. But then they're like, oh, false alarms, go back in. So we didn't even make it out of the room before we went back to our seats. And it was weird, and I don't know like what that was about, but I kind of felt like there was a little bit of intentional attempts to put doubt in people's minds.
It was an extremely convenient time.
Yeah, it was
for
strange.
that alarm to go off.
Yeah.
Extremely convenient.
It was weird, and at first I was like, this makes me kind of skeptical actually, but also I am someone that, with my synesthesia, I've had my own experiences of mind sight, and there's nothing that happened that I don't have my own experience of. So they don't need tricks to demonstrate it. Tricks aren't needed. Like everything that was demonstrated, to me personally, checks out. So I don't know. To me, it felt like maybe more of an attempt to put disbelief in people's minds so they wouldn't believe the demonstration.
And then additionally, they had a magician, and also
it's Chris Ramsey.
Chris
Ramsey,
he's a Area 52 podcaster, and they made him check her.
Yeah, they had him on stage so that way he could basically, he was adding commentary because he knows a lot about psychology and perception and psychological tricks, but so that he could observe and say, I don't see any tricks happening. Also, Hakeem was the one running the panel.
Hakeem Isler.
Yeah, he is a PSYOP guy.
Yeah, he is a PSYOP guy.
Like, that's what he used to do for the military, I believe, his position.
He was trained to get people to think in a different way, I guess.
But he's also training people in this way, in mindsight, and how to use some of these like psionic abilities. So, but I think there's a certain like nature of the way this was presented that makes people really skeptical, which I understand. So I don't know. To me, it kind of felt like, I think the demonstration was very real. Again, that's based off of personal experiences that I've had. So I don't know, if I hadn't had, I'll be really honest, if I hadn't had my own personal experiences with this stuff and seen others do this prior to this, I would have been very, very skeptical. I don't know that I would have believed it, and it kind of feels like that was the intention of maybe who was running it, or at least like the fire alarm going off, which unfortunately it felt like this year there was some stuff like that going on. I've heard that there's like interference before. I've heard stories, but I hadn't really seen it so much until this year, and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah.
I would just say if you haven't personally experienced it yet, it's easy to dismiss that. But if you have personally experienced it, it's a little bit more easy for you to fully believe.
What are you talking about specifically? You're talking about the mindset stuff, or you're talking about undercover
about
people?
I'm talking about the mindset stuff.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think if you've never tested it on yourself or like your friends or whoever, it's going to be pretty hard to believe that it's possible. And I wasn't surprised. People in the audience were very skeptical, and they have a right to be skeptical. I understand it, but there's a way around it. You can just try it for yourself. You can.
She was like 20 for 20.
Yeah, she got everything right.
And then her daughter was like 20 for 20.
Yeah. And so the daughter was, that's Leto, she was demonstrating telepathy. And it's just like you heard in the telepathy tapes, just like the demonstrations they do in those, and the documentary that's going to be coming out. So it was cool to see. It was just disappointing. I'm sure maybe it was an accident. Some people say that's how the phenomenon works, so could have been the phenomenon. I don't know, but I do think that there are people that are worried about this type of knowledge being disclosed and are wanting to slow it down. So that's kind of what I thought maybe that was about. That there were people there that were like, okay, the information's got to get out, but we don't want it to get out too fast because that could be destabilizing. So we'll try to, throw wrenches in the mix to put disbelief. so that you wouldn't believe what you were actually seeing. That's what I think it was, but there's different opinions. It might have been a complete coincidence or synchronicity. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what wise guy is going to pull that fire alarm.
An undercover wise guy?
And the fire alarm that's just for that room.
Just for the room, that's the thing. But everyone's like, oh yeah, it happened the day before too. And it didn't happen last year. We were there last year. Nothing like that happened that I saw. Anyway,
and we were just talking about this earlier, that there's like an increasing amount of psi stuff with the Jake Barber thing.
Yeah.
This year in Contact in the Desert versus last year in Contact in the Desert, where it was a mix of just alien and UFO stuff.
Yeah, it was more like nuts and bolts UFO stuff, which I think is what Contact is kind of known for.
It wasn't really centered on like human capability and
there was some stuff, but it was a lot of AI, and then like nuts and bolts, UFOs, and then some abduction stuff. They do go into that, which I think is helpful for experiencers to be able to meet other people like that. But yeah, this year, yeah, because of Jake Barber, like Rob said, there's a bunch of psionic talks, which I loved that. And I had like our episode in the back of my head the whole time, so I was like, ooh, I'm going to take notes on that. This is going to be helpful to talk about.
Yeah.
And it was. So yeah, my favorite lecture was Dr. Diane Hennessy.
What was your favorite lecture?
By far. Yeah, thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
It was absolutely Dr. Diane Hennessy's. And like I liked the panel and the demonstration, but that soured it for me, that experience with the fire alarm. I was pretty disappointed by that. No matter how it was caused, I was like, okay, that sucks. But Dr. Diane Hennessy's lecture was incredible, and she went into a lot of detail about perception, and she did talk about synesthesia, so I was like, yay, because I was hoping that she would. And I think for me the most interesting takeaway is something that we will talk about in this episode is she was talking about how in neurobiology, or like neuroscience, we've kind of had this assumed belief that the brain is creating consciousness, and that's where it comes from.
Right.
Okay, but then she showed the brain scan of, what's his name? Who's the guy who was Rain Man? Rain Man
I don't
was
know,
based
but we
on.
can just say Rain Man for the purposes of...
I want to say his name.
You want to? Okay. Dustin Hoffman.
No.
Kim
Peek. Kim Peek, yeah. Okay, so Kim Peek. So, let's say Lawrence Kim Peek.
Lawrence Kim Peek.
Okay, Lawrence Kim Peek. She had a picture of his brain scan, and you can see, so he was a savant. That's what Rain Man, the movie, was based on. He had incredible memory abilities, musical abilities, just like way beyond what the normal person can do. But of course, he then also had social and some cognitive impairment as well.
Right.
There were some things that he had a hard time doing. I don't know that he had full, like some physical things I think he struggled with, and yeah, socially he struggled, and he also saw things, like he definitely perceived things that other people didn't see. I think that showed up in the movie too, where there's characters he was talking to that by the end of the movie you learned they weren't real, they weren't really there, he just saw them. Of course, now I think when you understand some of this perception stuff, we might not just assume they weren't there, that they weren't real. It's just other people maybe weren't capable of perceiving. Okay, but
have you seen the movie?
Yes, it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't? Okay.
How have I not seen a movie? Because you're the one that never sees the movie.
No, there's very specific movies that I have never seen. What are they, Rob?
Good Will Hunting?
I've seen Good Will Hunting.
Are you sure?
I watched it with you.
The Expendables?
Good. Name another one.
The Expendables 2 and The Expendables
No,
3.
come on. What are the other movies that I haven't seen?
Iron Man.
I have seen that. It's been a while.
Ant-Man.
I saw it in theaters.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
What about The Departed? You've seen it?
No.
You've never seen it?
Say another one.
That's a
No,
classic.
say another one. He gets mad at me, but you're going to see
That's a
that.
classic.
There's a theme. Keep going.
Silence of the Lambs? Jodie Foster?
I think it's
Anthony
been a
Hopkins?
while.
Yeah? What's it about?
It's a horror film.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who's the bad guy?
I don't know. I probably watched it in like middle school or something, or high school.
Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
All right. What about...
It's taking a long time, Harry.
It's fine. I give up.
Okay, name one more.
Encounters of the Third Kind.
I have seen. I showed you that movie.
E.T.
Okay. Usually he gets mad about movies that I haven't seen, but the movies that I haven't seen are sexist. Real bad. Do you want to talk about National Lampoon, whatever, holiday adventure? It's bad. There's a reason I didn't watch it, and then he made me watch it, and I'm like, yeah, do you see why? This is a Christmas movie.
Christmas Vacation.
It's a Christmas movie, and he's with his son, supposed to be buying his wife a present, and he's flirting with a woman, and there was something about, like, women's underwear. It's terrible. He's a horrible, horrible person. He's a piece of shit. So misogynistic, terrible.
There we go.
No, that's a horrible character.
It is.
What kind of example is he setting?
Looking back, it was horrible. It was.
How clearly can you say, I don't give a shit about my wife, I don't care about her? The whole movie's like that. It's awful.
It is.
So that's why.
All right, keep going.
Okay, I'm just saying, there's a trends. They're all male-centered. Women show up, it's just to be eye candy for the men. I don't care. I don't want to watch that. Okay.
Fair.
Anyway, so, I didn't get to finish I had started a sentence and I didn't finish it. Let me come back to it. Real quick, I'm going to go back to the demonstration. Something I wanted to say when you brought up the part about where the guy showed her the book and she had to say, oh, I need you to hold it closer, even though she was fully blindfolded. There's also another time when she, there was a microphone near her and her hand hit it and she was like, oh, she got scared because she didn't realize it was close to her. So people in the audience were confused. They were like, why do you have to pull it closer to read it if you're fully blindfolded, if you're reading it with your mind? And then but then you couldn't see the microphone that was right there. Like, and so she explained something that the way the perception works is that for her anyway,
right,
is that her brain creates like these little windows. So she kind of has to like line things up in those windows, and it's like little pockets of vision, and then there'll be darkness in between.
One window is like for like behind her, one window is to the side of her, like it's like compartmentalized.
Or it might be above her, below, yeah. So she kind of has to like turn to like catch something in a window.
And then there's like darkness in between, like there's like gaps in between those windows.
So, and she said that what happens is that because our brains are so conditioned to viewing from the eyes and creating an image based off the data we get from our eyes, that even though like when you disable the eyes and you start using other modalities of your brain to perceive, which they believe it's the pineal gland is what's being used, because the pineal gland does have photoreceptors on it. Fun fact. It does. And so they think that some of that data can still get into the brain, and then the pineal is sensitive enough to process it, that the brain's still used to compiling an image as if it came from the eyes, so it follows something similar. So if you're not close enough, the brain's not going to just magically like bring it closer to you. You'd still have to physically like bring it closer. Or if it's, she said this too, which this is an experience that I've had personally, that if something is in the dark, even though technically your brain could find a way to still view it, it's still going to treat it as if you were looking at it with your eyes. And so it will be easier to see if you moved it into the light. And again, mind you, you're still blindfolded, so it's not like you're actually letting light in. It's just that your brain is reading it as if you were looking at it with your eyes still, and that it's rendering it that way in the brain. So she does say that with more time, she might be able to like bypass some of that stuff, but right now that's what her brain's doing. So she said that the microphone happened to be in a pocket, so she didn't see it and it scared her. The book was physically too far away, so her brain wasn't registering it clear. So she had to bring it closer basically to her head. And it wasn't like it was close to her eyes like we would do. It was more like bring it to her head and then she could read it. I thought that was really, really interesting. And I've had an experience before when we've kind of played around with this where like if you were like hiding something in your pocket because there wasn't light on it, I'd be like, I don't know, it's just dark. I can't, there's something there. And then if you took it out, even though I was still blindfolded, oh, now I can see it. So she did recommend if you're going to practice this, it helps to not, like, to try to view stuff that has light on it. just to note that your brain's still going to try to do that. I just thought that was interesting, and it did track. So, okay, back to Rain Man. Sorry. So back to Kim Peek. So
I think you just interrupted yourself.
I did.
By the way, I didn't do anything.
I did. I know. Okay, so back to the presentation. So, Dr. Hennessy was talking about Rain Man, and again, the idea that the brain creates consciousness. This is something that a lot of scientists have just assumed. But then people like Kim Peek and his brain scans really disprove that. It really negates that theory because he was missing entire sections of his brain. He was missing, it's something called the corpus callosum, which is basically, it's this piece of brain that is between the two hemispheres. You know, you have your two separate hemispheres. This is a piece that's in the middle that basically connects the two and allows for cross communication. He didn't have that.
Sounds pretty important.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was missing other structures too in the brain, and he had, it's called hydrocephalus, which is when there's increased like fluid in the brain. So places where a neurotypical brain would have brain structure, he just had this fluid, and his head was a little bit larger. And so again, you would think that if the brain was responsible for creating consciousness, this man would not be conscious. And yet he seemed to be hyper conscious. He had hyper ability in many areas.
Even though he was missing key structures
of the brain. And so there's other cases too that she went on to discuss, and then I did a little bit more research because I think this is just very fascinating. But there are cases of, there was one man pretty recently, I think he was from France, he doesn't have a brain. Normal guy.
Brainless.
Normal guy.
What do you mean normal? Well, he doesn't have a brain, so not normal.
But like, he was living a normal life. He had no idea. There was no indication that there was anything wrong with his brain until he had something else was wrong. I can't remember what it was. And I think that was like in his 40s or something. And then he, for whatever reason, the doctor was like, oh, let's just do a brain scan, make sure you don't have like a tumor or something. Nothing in his head. They scan his brain and they're like,
how do you get headaches without a brain?
Okay, so I went and looked at a few more studies because something else that Diane Hennessy was talking about was also...
He's not a pilot, is he? What does he do for work?
No, I don't know. They didn't want to give away too much information. He was heavily researched, but they never released his name because they didn't want... someone to be like, well, you don't have a brain, so we gotta fire you. Like, he was functioning normally, and he had like an average IQ too. Like, there was nothing like wrong with him other than he didn't have brain tissue.
Imagine having a lower IQ than a dude without a brain.
It's literally a thing.
Imagine.
There are so many cases of people, it's usually with hydrocephalus, which is where they basically have water on the brain and they don't have brain tissue. They have savant level IQs. No brain tissue. And they have ridiculously high IQs. Right, Jack?
Aren't there some animals like that or some organisms? I mean...
Yeah, jellyfish.
They don't have brains?
No. There's probably a lot more. Again, there could be people out there right now. A lot of these cases that I found in these studies, a lot of these people had no idea they were missing brain structures. It wasn't until there was something else. Like, there was one case where I think it was a woman. She hit her head and then her head hurt, so she went to have a scan just to check, and they're like...
Maybe he's a jellyfish hybrid.
You also don't have a brain. I don't know. Well, so this is what some of the studies... So I specifically found a study by Beauregard, and this is from 2007, where... I don't know if it was Beauregard that said this. It might have been another one, but said that basically synapses, like neurons and synapses. So you have neurons, which have like these things called dendrites.
Right.
And which are like these little arms that come out. And then synapses when there's a connection between the two. And it's basically to pass either a chemical or an electric signal.
Okay.
Right? And so synapse can be chemical or it can be electric.
Right.
So... essentially, those are the things that send the communications and allow for a lot of our operations. Now, they're in the brain, but they're also in the heart. They're also in the stomach. Like, have you ever heard of like the second brain being your stomach, being in the gut? Okay, they can be on your other organs too, like your liver, your spleen, I believe.
I don't know if I've heard that.
And they can be in your fascia, which is the connective tissue between your skin and your muscles. And so they could be in more places too. So what they think is maybe happening in these people is that the brain essentially is able to rewire and start using neurons in other locations. The thing that's the most interesting is there was studies done, which let me see, I can reference it.
You're freaking me out because I immediately think of like, oh, I just donated my kidney.
So this is
or like,
Lorber from 1983 had a patient with a global IQ of 130 and a verbal IQ of 140, had hardly any brain. He also studied other patients, or Lorber studied other patients that had severe hydrocephalus with little brain material and average IQs anywhere from 100, with higher with little to no behavioral abnormalities.
Doesn't the brain
there was
make you
also
see, though?
hang on. Okay, so this one was so fascinating. This was a Russian soldier from a study by Luria, was the author, in 1972. The soldier sustained a brain injury that resulted in partial removal of a hemisphere, and that resulted in severe amnesia that took like 25 years for him to try to recover these. They compared his partial removal with many cases who had the entire hemisphere removed. The people that had the entire hemisphere removed had less memory loss and cognitive loss than this guy who only had partial. Like, the other people had next to nothing different after. They're missing a whole half of their brain, and they're like,
so,
cool.
I mean, what you're saying is the brain that we thought held memory and a whole bunch of other stuff doesn't, or might not.
It can, but it's not the only place that can. Okay? So...
Because if someone has, like, almost no brain, and then they're, like, recalling memories.
Mm-hmm. How's your battery doing, by the way?
I'm at 14%.
Okay.
That is freaking nuts.
Right.
Where is that stored?
So, and this is something that you hear a lot about in like spirituality, that emotions get stored in the body and you have to release it. And we hear about it a lot in these spiritual terms, which I think causes a lot of people to not take it seriously.
Oh, it throws me off.
Yeah, because we've come from this materialistic, scientific, reductionist reality. So that language to us is like...
You're like, well, it's their higher self. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you check out.
I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
But we can put it into more scientific terms. Like, there are studies that are looking at this, and they're like, actually, some of the stuff is suggesting that memories can be stored in other locations, that it's not just in the brain. The brain certainly will do it if it's there, but if it's not there, it will be stored somewhere else.
All right, so tell us, but don't lose us in the heavy science.
Okay, well, this is what Beauregard, this is pretty cool. So, well, there's Snyder from 2009, is another researcher, believes that savant skills are latent abilities that we all have, but that the normal cognitive brain does not allow access to it. And then we have Beauregard from 2007. Their research suggests that belief affects brain structure and functioning. And this was based off experiments done on emotional self-regulation, psychotherapy, and placebo.
Okay.
Like, he actually concluded thoughts, feelings, and beliefs and volition exert a causal influence on brain plasticity.
Sounds pretty thorough.
Now, here's where this comes down to. This is going to come down to neuroplasticity. That is the brain's ability to create neurons and synapses. Okay? So, if you were to sustain a brain injury and your body wasn't really good at this, you're going to have a cognitive decline.
Right.
Okay? But if your body's really good at this, and you sustain a brain injury, you might not notice. Because essentially what happens is, though, if the brain's there, the body will use the brain for that function, but if that brain goes away, it'll just reroute it. It'll just put it somewhere else.
I didn't research this yet, but it reminds me of like when I was in school and I was like learning about that dude who got like the freaking spear in his head, or like the pole in his head.
And he was fine, right?
And he was like fine.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't like fine because he had like a big pole in his head, but like he was still like function. You know what I mean? He's still like,
all I did is really good stretch. Glad we saw that.
Still functional.
Yeah. Well, they've done studies too where they found like babies basically that weren't born with all their brain tissue were able to grow it after birth still.
Oh.
And again, so this is what it comes down to, is the body's ability. Like, there's so much more to this. So like the science, like I'm not going to get into all of it. Even if I understood it, you wouldn't. So
I got 11%.
Okay. We're okay. But it's the idea that there's so much more going on to consciousness. And really, to me, what this suggests is that consciousness is coming from outside the body and being routed in through the brain structures. And this is something that, like, Dr. Diane Hennessy, she was just kind of showing how what we think we know about the brain is not correct. We've had this information for years. Savants, and she studied savants. Like, this is something that she's been doing, and she worked with a top savant researcher. Yeah, like her whole career.
She's an MD.
Yeah, she's a medical doctor, psychologist, and she's been studying savants for a very long time. And she discovered years ago that savants are capable of telepathy. It's been demonstrated to her for a majority of her career.
Right.
And so, but she's kind of getting into how and why this might be the case, and it comes down to consciousness. And so she gets a lot of pushback on her work because people think, oh, the brain creates consciousness, so that can't be. No, sorry, we got really conscious people with no brains, and we got people with brains with no brains.
Oh man,
get it? The point.
So many insults in like a short amount of time.
It's my specialty. The point is that there's something else going on. Now, I'm looking at this, and I've been looking into perception for a while because of my own brain. I have ADHD, suspected autism, I have a lot of autistic traits, and I have synesthesia.
She's got a lot of things. And allergies.
Yeah, usually all.
Which is connected.
No, actually, probably. It's pretty common.
Okay, keep going. I got 9%.
So the idea when it comes to synesthesia and autism and ADHD, no one knows exactly what causes it, but there does seem to be a major correlation with synapses, and that an autistic brain or someone with synesthesia and even ADHD,
right,
there seems to be changes in the neuroplasticity, but those brains tend to have more synapses. And sometimes usually it's more, like they have more connections, they have more neurons that are able to connect, but then there's also like where those connections happen can be different. And so having different neuroplasticity might mean like where that increased neuroplasticity is taking place. Sometimes it could be general all over, or sometimes it might be they have really intense neuroplasticity in just this one area.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you're more likely to see someone with an extreme ability in one area versus something else being a little bit more generalized. So, but what they think is happening is that those increased synapses, right? If you understand that that is how we perceive the world, that's how we render what we see. Like, we don't see things as they are. I need to make this extremely clear. You do not see the world as it is. You are not seeing everything that's in front of you right now. You are only seeing what your brain is processing.
Freaking me out right now.
Do you understand?
Freaking me out.
Do you understand?
You told me this like 800
You
times.
only see what your brain can process. There's a lot more in front of us right now, and we cannot see it. We've managed to build machines that are capable of detecting it, but we don't see it all. We know that there's like infrared waves in front of us, for example. Our eyes cannot perceive that. Our brain cannot process that, but it exists and it's here.
Ooh, also applies to like racism and sexism, by the way. I mean, that's totally different from what you're talking about, but it's hard for people to like see that if they're not
Oh.
You know what I mean?
You're applying this to the idea like a white guy says, oh, there's no such thing as sexism because I never experienced that.
Right.
Because he's a man, he wouldn't.
Right.
It's geared towards
I mean, it's
women.
not like a literal object that we're not seeing or like a gas.
Okay, but it's
that
the
we're
idea
not
that
seeing,
if you're not living the experience, you don't know the experience.
Right.
Yeah. No,
right.
it does relate to it.
There's some similarity there.
No, there's a lot of similarity. It's coming from the same effect that we tend to get really boxed into our own perception of the world, and we think that we like uniquely are experiencing the world as it really is. We know the world because we see it. No, you don't. Do you understand? No, you don't. You do not. You see a piece of it.
That's it.
And the piece that you see is based on what your brain is capable of processing. But that can be changed. This is the thing you need to understand. It can be changed. It can be affected. And it's based on those synapses, which they don't all need to be in your brain. They can be in other parts of your body. Mm-hmm. So how do you change that? Okay. by affecting your neuroplasticity, and the best way to do that is movement, but it's like going to be diet, exercise. There's absolutely genetic factors. Like you can inherit certain, you can be predisposed to making certain neural connections based off of your genetics. But the way you're raised. So when it comes to synesthesia, ADHD, and autism, one of the theories is that all babies are born with full-blown synesthesia, or they're all born autistic, I guess you could kind of technically say. But as they're growing up, normally your DNA, genetics, or I guess, sorry, your DNA, your diet, your environment, your culture, and then specific things that happen to you cause certain synapses to go away. If you don't end up using them, then your body's going to be like, all right, this is just taking up space. We're using energy to maintain this and we're not using it. Bye. And it's going to throw it away. So now your ability to have an interaction with that goes away. An example, I was watching a video earlier, was talking about, I think it was in Japan, there's a certain like a syllable sound, or a consonant sound that they don't use in their language. And they literally lose their ability to hear the sound. Their brain won't process the sound. So when it comes to certain accents, and like we have this too, there's certain things that like when we try learning another language, it's going to take a while to be able to do an accent, because we might not have the ability to hear it, because like though the sound is maybe being made, our brain got rid of its ability to process it because we never used it. Why would it keep that? We don't need it.
It's like someone with a Boston accent never hear an R.
Doesn't
My
exist.
dad.
Yeah, what's an I?
I got
Don't need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Alphabet's 25 letters.
It's that idea. It's that the brain is like, all right, we're not using it. We got to get rid of it. We're going to conserve this energy to the stuff that we are using, right?
Right.
So those synapses will go away, and they take with it the ability to have that experience. Okay? So now with children they think with ADHD, autism, synesthesia, how much percent? 4%.
I was trying to do it nonchalant, but it just like...
Okay, so with that, essentially what's happening is the synapses don't prune away. They keep more of them, and they end up all getting maintained. And so that's where you can get like overwhelmed if you're hear someone having a meltdown, someone with like autism having a meltdown, or even ADHD getting overstimulated, understimulated. It's because the body is now maintaining a lot more connections than a neurotypical body. Those things didn't go away, and the body has to conserve energy. And so, like they say this a lot, especially with ADHD brains, we need more carbs. We need more sugar, because our brains are doing a lot more work, and they get tired faster. And so our bandwidth is going to be lower, but we're processing a lot more information. So it means we are having a richer experience of the world. We are experiencing more things. And it literally can come down to, oh, you see that weird thing in the sky? All right. So the ADHD and the autism are like, yeah, I see it. Neurotypical. No.
You see that though?
Right. Okay, and it's not always that. A neurotypical might happen to have some connection in the brain still. That could see it, and it doesn't mean they're neurodivergent. But anyway, that it's like that idea that those synapses become very, very important, and they don't all have to happen in the brain. Okay? They can happen in other parts of the body.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
I think we need a part 2 because you don't have enough battery.
We need a part 2. I got 2%, but...
Why don't we just pause? Let's pause for right now, and then we'll charge it, and then we'll pick up.
Okay.
Okay. So we're resuming. We're going to try to finish this, wrap this up quick here. So we left off talking about, again, how the synapses can be in other parts of the body. Right?
Right.
Okay. Which basically, from this research, it's just kind of showing that you could have memories stored in other parts of the body. It doesn't all have to be in the brain, which I think is really fascinating. And in terms of what Dr. Diane Hennessy was talking about, she didn't go into that. She was really just kind of showing how it's kind of hard to still believe that consciousness can be created from the brain when you have scans of people that have no brains, and they're very much conscious and have really high IQs. So there's obviously something more going on. And then some of the studies I was looking into, is showing that these synapsal connections can be happening in other parts of the body, and that memory could be stored in other parts of the body. It has to be if you have people with no brain.
Right.
No brain, and they have memories, and they're functioning like normal. They don't even have any impairment. So there's more to the story, clearly. Clearly.
Check my brother's head.
There's a lot of heads.
Boom, roasted.
But that said, if someone's not acting right, it's not necessarily just the brain.
Right.
And it might have more to do with belief, which I said, I think, I referenced Beauregard already. And that how psychotherapy, placebo, emotional regulation all seems to affect the way the brain develops, right? I talked about that. It affects neuroplasticity, which is really fascinating. So again, neuroplasticity is the brain's, or I guess the body, I don't think we can say the brain, but the body's ability to create connections in the neurons. Mm-hmm. And so there's certain things that you can do to enhance your neuroplasticity. And there's something about synesthesia, neurodivergence in general, which seems to be, there's a marked difference in neuroplasticity. Either it's increased or in certain areas of the brain it's increased. It could be overall increased. And they don't necessarily know exactly what causes it. I have a theory that I'm kind of toying around with that maybe it's related to collagen. Just because it's really common for people with autism to have Ehlers-Danlos, which is it's a collagen. It's like a mutation on the collagen, and it creates hypermobility. So that the connective tissues will be kind of weak, and they tend to be stretchier. Mm-hmm. So you'll see like autistic people that have Ehlers-Danlos, their skin can be really, really, really stretchy. And it's common for ADHDers as well to have hypermobility in certain areas. Like I'm hypermobile in my hips, so my hip joints are like really weak. I can pop my hip bone out of the socket, both of them. Yeah, there's some people that can do it with their shoulders. Gross. But it causes pain, so I kind of be careful. And I also have another collagen disorder, Alport syndrome, which is a mutation on the X chromosome on the collagen 4A4, which affects it's like the mucous membrane that makes up the eyes, the ears, and the kidneys. So those structures are weakened there and can cause some problems. But because it's on the X chromosome, the mutation doesn't always replicate off of my diseased X. I also have a healthy X chromosome that's normal, so it like oscillates between the good one and the bad one. Anyway, but I'm like, I don't know, could that be contributing to more stretchiness in general? And could we just basically have stretchier connections? I don't know. Again, I'm not a neuroscientist, so I don't know. But I read a lot. And I have synesthesia myself, so. And a lot of experiences of expanded perception, seeing things that other people don't experience.
Could you believe Sammy's got a lot of stuff going on with her? She also got a nose ring too, unrelated. I don't know if we've talked about this yet or not, but
probably not. Yeah. Anyway, so what was the big thing I wanted to say? I guess in terms of perception, I think the biggest thing I want to talk about, I'm actually going to save it to the end.
Isn't this the end?
Well, yeah, but why don't we finish talking about Contact in the desert? Is there anything else from Contact? We got to talk to James Fox. That was really cool.
We got to talk to James Fox.
He's
I will say
cool.
that he is a very cool man, and he is not a surface level man.
No, like he actually had a really long conversation with us.
We talked to him for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of he's like, what are you guys trying to?
Yeah, he was
like, what are you trying to do in 5 years?
I mean, he's a journalist. He's a really good interviewer, so he was like looking deep into our souls, like, tell me everything about you, kind of a person.
Unless he's been investigating us.
You think he's the undercover? No, I don't get those vibes from him at all. I think he's legitimate. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, he's very cool.
Take that out.
Stop saying stuff and make me take this out.
Take it out.
It's so much work.
Take it out.
I'm going to make you do it. You're going to have to learn. You will have a breakdown. You won't survive it.
Take it out.
You won't survive editing.
I was so happy to see him too. It was really funny because she was starstruck. I don't know. I don't want to say she was starstruck, but like she overthinks it so at Contact in the desert, all these alien people are at the desert, right? We're all in this hotel. We all have to see each other for like 4 or 5 days.
Alexis, what's her?
Brooks.
No, I have her book somewhere. I was going to show her book.
I don't know. There's a lot of books in here. But
yeah.
Alexis Brooks.
I love her.
She goes every year. She's wonderful.
She's incredible.
She did a really good session last year on
animals and the phenomenon, we're going to have to, we'll do all this.
It's its own thing. But yeah, that was a solid hour and a half.
Yeah.
But you love her. You don't love her, but
no, I do. I'm obsessed.
Okay,
she's
she
incredible.
loves her.
She's a genius.
And I was like, all right, Sammy, like go up to her table. You know, you got the table with like the book signing and all that.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own table the whole time. And so she's like sitting there, and I'm like, hey, like go up to her. She's like, I don't know what to say.
I probably said it like 6 times. I want to go talk to her. I want to go talk to her. And then
talk to
every time
her.
I had a chance, I was like, I can't talk to her.
And I'm like, come on. I was
To be
like,
fair,
she's packing up and leaving right now. Like,
I get the socially awkward talking to absolutely anyone.
and so then I knew that Alexis and her husband were walking behind us. And finally, once we were walking almost to a certain part of the hotel, I just turned around and I was like, my wife is like way too chicken to introduce herself to you, but I'm going to do it. And she was like, oh my gosh,
She
she's
was
like,
really
so nice to
sweet.
meet you. She's like really nice. Really
very
nice
nice.
person.
Yeah. She chatted with us for a little bit. She was really cool.
She was great.
Yeah.
She was great. Her husband's great too. He was
Yeah.
represent.
He's so funny.
He had like he had these like T-shirts made for her,
Like merch. Yeah, it was so cute.
It was
Yeah.
great.
Very,
I
very
love how he
supportive.
supports her like
Yeah,
that.
it's awesome.
But
So then Rob was a little scared to talk to James Fox, and at this point I'd had some wine.
days went by, and then I'm
No,
trying
it
to
was the
close
same
out.
day.
It was like,
It was the same day. Okay, days in contact feel one day feels like a week.
well, you get there on
It was
Thursday,
Sunday.
and I'm like, oh, it's James Fox. I'm gonna go talk to him. I'm gonna talk, you know. And then I'm like, no, I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
And Friday came and went. Saturday came and went. Sunday.
It was Sunday.
It was Sunday.
the last day.
And so I'm
Well,
like
for
gonna
us,
close out. It's like midnight,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we went up
He
to the
just
bar.
turns
I'd
around.
had wine, and Rob was like, he's right there, but I can't say. So I just tapped on his shoulder. And he was like kind of turning around anyway. So it was like, this is my husband. He would like to meet you, but he's scared.
I was like,
Say hi.
oh.
And he thought it was funny. And
He did think it was funny.
yeah. And then he had a really good conversation with us.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was very like, it's like I knew him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's he's a journalist. Like, he's a very good interviewer. So
Very
he
good.
knows how to have a conversation. But it was funny because we just kind of assumed that he was probably busy and needed to go. So we kept, like, you know, like, answering his questions and then thinking he was going to be like, all right, well, I gotta go. You know, like, we were kind of thinking he was going to, like, end the conversation. Then it kind of kept going. And at one point we were like,
I'm like, it's 1 right now. I'm trying
yeah,
to
we
go
gotta
to
go to
bed.
bed. Like, it was kind of
He's
funny.
like, all right.
But no, he was really, really good to talk to.
Really nice guy.
He just seemed really genuine. Like, he's worked really, really hard on... If you haven't seen any of his documentaries, you should. The Program is a big one that came out.
The Program, I Know What I Saw.
Yeah, that's about the Phoenix Lights.
That's a good one.
And then, what's the name of the one about Varginha, Brazil? Varginha?
Varginha.
It's Varginha or Varginha?
It's
I can't remember the title of it. We've watched it like 3 times. So I can't remember.
Ooh, got it in the back of my head. It's like paranormal. No, it's
No. We'll have to Google it, but...
he always names them epic.
he's
though.
doing
He really does.
another one. He's like redoing it or something.
Beyond the Phenomenon or something? No?
No.
Under the Phenomenon?
No.
Something the Phenomenon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look it up real quick.
It's
Moment of Contact.
but yeah, that was it. Moment of Contact.
Moment of Contact. It's very
I
good.
was so
You should
close.
really watch it. I think his videos or his documentaries are really good for people that are a bit more skeptical, because he started out being really, really skeptical.
Yeah.
Like, he was just a filmmaker, like, making documentaries about other topics, and someone was like, oh, you should look into this, and he was like, no, that's obviously not real, that's
freaking
dumb.
weird, man.
And then it took, I think it was Moment of Contact when he really got into it, because he just happened to hear, more and more people were like, no, you should look into this. And then he was like, all right, started, like, kind of asking about it, and realized there was some really very credible accounts and data.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of freaked him out. He was like, ooh, okay. And so, you know, like, you're a journalist, like, investigative documentaries, like, that's kind of your job, to go look at the stuff that no one else has the time and money to go look at. And he did it. And it was really hard. It's hard. Journalism is hard in general. Making documentaries is very hard. And then he picked a really hard topic. So.
Oh yeah.
But he seemed really just genuinely, like, so happy to be at Contact and to be talking to people. And
I think this was the first time he's been there too,
Yeah,
so it was
he's
really
been
nice for him to kind of like see so many people, like Whitley Strieber and like a whole bunch of other people that were there. Like,
yeah, but
I think I saw on Twitter he had like a picture of like him and Whitley, and then he had like
yeah,
a
I'm
picture
sure.
of, like,
But I think he seemed really happy to be talking to people like
yeah,
this. like people that are just like audience.
Yeah, which is
that
wild
we're
because
just like, thanks for making this.
if you have like, I don't know, if you have like celebrity status, someone's like, oh, get away from me. I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? But like, this is kind of like different in a way because
it's very niche, I guess.
it is kind of niche.
Getting
but
less though.
We definitely do this. Like anything James Fox makes or touches, you got to show it to people. Like
when we have
people.
skeptical friends or family, they're like, "What are you talking about? Why do you guys care about this stuff?" We usually show them.
And you see, like, there's just this guy that's just like so interested in this, and he's not like, oh, you gotta like channel your inner chakra or like.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but
self.
like we were talking about at the beginning, if you have someone that's more skeptical, that language is just gonna shut them off. They're not gonna listen to it.
Right. But I mean, if you got,
yeah, something like this is a little bit easier for someone coming from a materialistic world.
I think he was
to
on like
grasp
Joe
onto.
Rogan like 2-3 times, something like that too.
He's gone to Congress. He's been inside SCIFs. He's been to hearings, like talking to representatives about this stuff. Like it's a big deal. But he's been working on it for a really long time. Anyway, we got to talk to him. That was really cool.
If you've never seen any of his movies, watch them.
He's not paying us to say this.
I think the program he made free.
I think it's on YouTube. Yeah, don't quote us on that one. Just look it up. It might be.
You got to look.
It's pretty good though.
Rotten Tomatoes 89.
Okay, we do need to keep this going. So, anything else about Contact that we want to say?
I want to say that it was very refreshing to see Ross Coulthart from News Nation.
We did see Ross Coulthart.
Really cool to see. And he interviewed, what was his name?
Blitch.
Colonel Blitch. Which is really good. But I think Ross had a really good account as to how he got started covering the phenomenon. Like he was just covering like regular stuff, and all of a sudden like News Nation is like, all right, you want to do UFOs? And he's like, all right. Mm-hmm. So he's been spitting something out like once a day probably.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot. He's one of the only like traditional like TV journalists that's covering this stuff, which is nice to see because most people are podcasters.
Yeah, and he seems to be like one of the first ones to like get stuff out when like stuff is coming out too.
He has a lot of support. He's backed by network.
An actual, legit.
He has the resources where a lot of like podcasters like us, I mean, we're really tiny, but there's others that have a little more resources. It's their own money. Like maybe they can get funding, but it's usually like, if they manage to get advertisers, that's how they're paying for stuff. But it can be really expensive to seek any of this.
But I really like that he really gave and I don't know if there's any videos online about like him giving his account of how he got started with this, but it was really refreshing to hear, and it was something that, I just pick up YouTube and I'm like watching his stuff and I'm like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? I like didn't know who he was, but then when he explained that, it was, I think, a lot clearer for me and a little bit more refreshing. So Jesse Michaels was there. He gave a little talk. It was just like a Q&A.
I mean, there were a bunch of podcasters.
There was George Norrie and George Knapp. They did George and George. We didn't see that, but that was there.
There were a lot of people there. I think my favorite they had a lot more women this year, which made me really happy. They had more panels with women on it too.
You know what?
Another one of my favorite talks was Kelly Chase's stuff. Something she was going into, which I think was more helpful for experiencers, but she was talking about some of the psychological games and tricks that get played on people when they try to get into this stuff. And we did see some of that stuff going on, so that was really helpful to hear someone talking about that and kind of how to keep your wits about you. I thought that was really helpful because it's really tough, and it's tough to know who to trust because, again, there's so much disinformation. There's so many people that you think you can trust them, and then you find out, oh, they were undercover the whole time, and you're like, so what, like there's a lot of disinformation in any topic that gets thrown out, but especially this one. And she had a couple presentations where she went into that a little bit more, some of research that she's been able to gather, and some of experiences that people have, and it was very helpful.
Did we talk about Melinda Leslie yet? Because she was like my favorite. She was my favorite. So
she does the Skywatch tours in Sedona.
Yeah.
For like, and Ross Coulthart interviewed her recently too.
Yeah,
she's so funny.
She's hilarious.
Really like
she
her.
is like one of the funniest.
Like I want to go do the tour just to hang out with her.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Sure, see stuff in the sky. Yeah,
So she has these like military grade binoculars that she like pretty much like has a couple spots near Sedona that she'll like go to, and she'll bring people to for a fee. Obviously, it's not that much money, but it's really cool because you can see like all these orbs and like cool things.
She guarantees a sighting.
Guaranteed.
Or your money back.
And this says she's had 1,990 tours, and she should have had 2,000 by the time she came to the conference. But there's been some rain and cloudy skies, so I'm sure 2,000 is probably going to happen any day now.
Yeah. Probably go at some point.
But she was great. I mean, a lot of people went to Sedona like right after we left.
Yeah,
so.
It was weird. A lot of people were like, "We're gonna go to Sedona." Okay.
Yeah, but
it's a cool place.
She was really good. Like you said, Kelly Chase was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard Dolan was there.
We didn't see his talks.
Paul Hynek.
I really focused a lot on the sci stuff this year. I mean, they had a lot of stuff, but I was really excited for it just because I absolutely love the telepathy tapes. And if you follow me on social media or you've listened to this podcast, you know that I've had a lot of my own psi experiences, like psychic phenomena experiences and telepathy-based stuff. So
Caroline Corey was there,
Caroline
too.
Corey was there. Yeah, even for my own personal understanding of myself, it's helpful to see some of the research being done and just what people are doing. So I liked that. All right, last comment. Anything else you want to say about contact? I want to end with the Chris Bledsoe stuff. No.
I would say I'm out of ideas.
Okay. So the thing I want to end on last. So Chris Bledsoe
pressure.
was there. We saw his talk, and like I've read his book before, or I think I heard the audiobook, and I followed him kind of like loosely for a while. Really interesting story. I definitely recommend checking it out, reading it. But what he's kind of known for, if you don't already know, is he gets orbs all the time. Like he can just kind of ask and they show up, and he has an entity that he's an abductee, and he has an entity that he has encountered many times that he calls the lady. He tends to say it's more angelic. He does have a more like Christian religious background, so he still kind of uses some of those terms to talk about the phenomenon and his experiences with it. But he was there and he gave a talk, and his whole family was there, which I think was really cool that they were all like there with him. But then we did a sky watching event, which they had one last year too, and we didn't really go to that one. But he was running it, and this is something he started doing. He goes out and he like brings people out, and pretty much anywhere he goes, as long as they can see the sky, they'll see something. So he was like, all right, let's try it. And something that I thought was really interesting that got me thinking a lot about the perception stuff was, so we're out there, right? And I've heard him say this before, but he said it again. And he said that while we're all out here, this was the largest one he'd ever done. And he said it's going to be tricky because there's so many of us. And it was kind of cloudy too. So I think he was nervous. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. And he said that if someone is skeptical, even one person, it will affect the results. Which a lot of people, if they are skeptical, say, oh, well, that's super convenient. Okay.
Gotta love her voice. Gotta love it when she does that.
He loves my mocking voice. So they're like, okay, so because I'm skeptical, it's going to ruin it. But he's saying, yes, literally. If you're skeptical, leave. And then he said it's happened many times when the skeptical person or persons have left, and then an orb shows up. The way he's explaining it, he's kind of talking about like, okay, you have to open your heart, and with love, you have to ask them to be here. It's not a summoning, it's a request. They can hear you. And if we all focus our attention on this, focus our thoughts in the same direction, and open ourselves up, they will show up for us. And so we did see some stuff. That they also had trackers to check to see if it was a satellite, and there were definitely planes, and people were like, is that it? I'm like, no, that's an airplane. Or like, oh, that one's a satellite. But where we were, they were able to confirm when something wasn't a plane and wasn't a satellite. And also where we were, again, it's a city, so there's not good visibility at all. I mean, we're in Utah, so we see the stars. Like we get a lot of stars, so we know we're pretty good at knowing when there's a satellite. They are usually faint.
Starlink and something else.
Yeah, like we've very much tracked it. And then they had trackers. You can get trackers to know, it was a satellite going overhead, and flight trackers and stuff. So they had multiple people doing that. They had someone from like Harvard, like they had a, what do you call it? Astronomer? Like they had an actual astronomer there that was tracking and watching too, to be like, nope, that's a satellite. Nope, that's this. Nope, that's a shooting star. Whatever. Which you saw a shooting star. You're the one that saw it.
I did.
And so we did see, at least there were two things that I saw that I'm like, oh, no, that one's weird. That one's weird. Really, really bright. And we're out there like 10 o'clock at night too. Satellites are usually the brightest at sunrise and sunset because of the angle of the sun, refracting off of the satellite. It just reflects a lot back, but satellites don't have lights on them, so they shouldn't be really, really bright. If you're seeing them, it's because light is bouncing off of something, and that's how you see it. So they are normally faint or you don't see them at all.
Right.
So this is not a good visibility, and we saw something very, very bright. Again, when the sun is not high, like the sun is down, like it's been down for a while, so the sky is pretty dark, but it was really, really bright, and they were able to check, and they're like, no satellites. So there's probably 3 or 4 things, but 2 of them that personally to me I was like, no, that was pretty weird. And we've seen a lot of stuff like that, so for us we're like, but he was saying that, it was going to be harder, and in past times that they've done it, they've had more significant sightings that were more anomalous than those, even though there was some anomalous stuff that happened and people were very excited with what they saw. But that in smaller groups, they usually get a bigger presentation, and he's saying that it's about the belief, and that it's easier for him to basically kind of set the tone with a smaller group. But that with this larger group, it's a little bit harder because he can't connect one-on-one with all of us, and he can't like help guide the experience and kind of guide our mental states to have the experience. And so something that I've been thinking about when it comes to the perception of this is it's kind of reminding me a lot of the theory of like manifesting. And people say like, oh, the law of attraction, that you attract or repel things. But when it comes to perception and like the combination of this plus like what he's talking about, it kind of is making sense to me, and I think it's possible maybe some of our science actually supports this. But the idea that our neurons and synapses are passing electricity, and we do have an electromagnetic field, like we are magnetic,
right,
and we have fields. So to some extent, to think that maybe some of these phenomenon could actually be attracted to us based off of that magnetic field kind of makes some sense. But that if you have a disbelief, it's like reversing it, that magnet, and you could repel it. See what I mean? It makes me think that if you have a belief in place, you have a synapse that's firing an electrical pulse.
Right.
And if you have several beliefs associated with it, then you're going to have several electrical pulses that are sending vibrations throughout your body. If there's phenomenon that matches that, you will have an experience of that. Right? And that already explains how we perceive the world anyway, right? That it's bringing in certain vibration data. It's light vibrations usually through our eyes, and then a brain takes it, renders it, and based on those synapses, we have an experience, right? So, and then we know though, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means we don't have the ability. But if we were to gain the ability, we would then see it. So when it comes to UFOs, a lot of people say, well, I've never seen one, so I don't believe it. Doesn't mean they're not there. It just might mean that you personally haven't developed the synapse to see it, to have the experience of it. So when he was talking about that, all I could think about was, this might have something to do with our synapses, and that if someone is here that doesn't have it, there could be a certain aspect of them that is physically repelling away. And like they kind of talk about it. A lot of people think, oh, so these beings and these crafts can just like read our minds, and if there's a skeptic, they're like, oh, screw you guys, we're not gonna come see you. And I'm like, no, I don't think it's that. I think it's about our brains and what our brains are capable. And them being able to display, I think, has more to do with whether our brains will allow it or not. So they're probably always there. It's just we don't always get to have the experience of them unless we do something to allow for it, like taking psychedelics, and all of a sudden your brain floods with synapses that weren't there before, right? And then the experience goes away because when the drug's gone, the synapses will prune back to normal. Or like having certain experiences where all of a sudden you have a traumatic brain injury, now you start seeing UFOs everywhere, or now you have synesthesia, right? Certain things. And they've done studies. There's a new study, I think it was in Canada, that came out recently too, where they caused temporary damage to a certain part of the brain, and they say it seemed to allow for a psychic perception.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the video of like this was some study, I forget. The video of the guys bouncing around a ball or something, and then all of a sudden the gorilla shows up. And if you're in a hurry watching it, you like can't see the gorilla. But then if you're really like focused,
no, so Diane Hennessy brings it up too. She referenced that.
She did.
Yeah, she did. She talked about it, and there was another video too. There's a few different experiments you can do with that, and she showed a picture of this like overlaid perception too, to see like what someone with increased perception, because Kim Peek was literally able with one eye to read one book and the other eye read another book.
Yeah.
He could read like 2 pages at once, one eye. He could defocus his eyes.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah. And so it kind of showed how you can perceive 2 things. And I've freaked you out a couple times. I can listen to 2 conversations at one time and process them both. I'll process better from only focusing on one at a time. But if there's 2... and only 2, I can listen to both. If there's more than that, then I'll be like, oh, what? Then it's harder for me if there's like a lot going on, because my brain won't tune them out. That's the thing. My brain won't tune them out. So, but if there's a conversation here and a conversation here, I can listen to both at the same time and understand them fairly well. I can also watch TV and read at the same time. Again, it's not as strong as if I just focus on one, but I can do that. So, but there's some... just basically talking about the increased like connectivity, which it might actually be the absence of something.
Might be.
Maybe a structure, or it could be from trauma, even just like childhood trauma that basically broke something down. So I'm no longer having a block. A block got removed. And so that study in Canada, that's what they found, that, yeah, when they temporarily damaged certain parts of the brain, the participants had increased perception and psychic ability and even telepathic ability. And so more research needs to be done, because these are really small samples. So it's kind of anecdotal, but there's evidence to suggest that, yeah. And that kind of ties into that other study by Snyder in 2009, that they think that savant skills are latent abilities, and that with certain changes to the brain, it'll come about that actually... And this is kind of my theory, is that this is what I think personally, that consciousness is outside of us and maybe gets drawn into the body through the electrical pulses, or like the electromagnetism. And I'm not a scientist, so if this sounds crazy and it's wrong, it might be. So just let me get through it though. But that maybe it's like a consciousness field, and consciousness can be attracted into the body through like a flow, but think of it moving like water, and that
I'm yawning so
our
much.
Synapses act like pipes. So think about pipes in your house, right? It carries water and sends it to very specific locations. Mm-hmm. The wider the pipe, the more water can come in at a time. The narrower the pipe, the less it can come in at a time. No pipe, it's just going to flood the place, right? And if there's no containment at all, you don't have a house. So the idea that maybe our brains, or like our physical structures, aren't creating it, but they're allowing for the flow of it instead. It's kind of like the reverse idea of it. And that when the structures are more opened up, we get increased flow. So more consciousness, more perception. That's kind of what I've been like toying with it. This is kind of like after I heard her and I'm reading this stuff, this is kind of what this is feeling like. But then again, what flows in or what draws in might depend on the vibration of the magnetism of that particular body, right. Which kind of now gets into the ideas of manifestation, but also in manifestation, they talk about the subconscious mind a lot, which I think is not in the head per se, but could be distributed throughout the whole body. And so I am getting certified in hypnosis, which specifically it's to help remove beliefs, toxic traits, habits, and beliefs that you have stored in the subconscious, to go in and basically remove the synapse. To be like, all right, we're going to go find it. And we're going to break that synapse in half. And then the next part of it is, okay, now where is that associated memory kind of stored in the body? And let's release some of that energy. So that way you can now formulate a new habit, a new pattern, a new belief. And it works very well. It works very, very well, to the point where therapists, most people do this. They're hypnotherapists, and they have actual, they're like licensed psychologists, and they do this. I'm not a licensed psychologist, so I can only do hypnosis, but it's just more targeted. So when I'm doing this, I'm helping you go in and identify a belief, and there's a whole process to help remove it, and it actually helps you change your habits.
Pretty good stuff, yeah.
Which, when you think about when people talk about manifestation, if what we're doing is changing the way we perceive, if we change our synapses, we'll change what we perceive. And in that way, can't you see how that's related to manifestation? If you have a new neuron, now you can have a new experience of something. Mm-hmm. And that if you have a negative belief, right, or a limiting belief is what it's called a lot,
yeah,
it could be repelling something that you want. That type of consciousness cannot come in. You won't be able to have that experience, not because it doesn't exist, but because you aren't allowing it in.
Dun dun.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
We'll go into this more. I'm going to be talking about this a lot more. I'm going to be continuing to research this.
It's one of her many interests.
I'm like really on it right now, but it's because I'm studying like hypnosis, and I'm getting certified, and I'm hypnotizing people, and seeing the effects is pretty amazing. It's amazing.
It is.
Book with me. I'll put the information on YouTube, but you can go to my website and you can book a session with me. Which they're lower cost right now, since I'm still like in the process of getting certified. But
if we're pitching stuff too, we also have some meditation videos that were originally on this page that started this page out. So.
Yeah, they're still there. And I'm going to be making guided meditations that maybe some of it can be kind of like hypnosis. I wouldn't want to do a full like regression unless it was a one-on-one session, just for your safety. But I will be making more guided meditation videos that can help rewire your brain.
You don't want to regress a crowd or anything?
That's not safe. I don't think that's safe. We'll let magicians do that for entertainment. I don't think that's safe. I'd rather do one-on-one with someone to make sure that they're okay, they're processing okay, that if something intense is coming up, I can help you manage it.
I was just kidding.
Yeah. Well, people do that.
Funny.
I personally don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be delicate.
But we did get this book from Chris Bledsoe. We bought it, obviously, but...
Well, that said, I guess if you ever want to do a Skywatch, you want to go out with Chris Bledsoe, if the open your heart thing doesn't work for you, those words don't work for you, and you need more of a science-based explanation, think about synapses in your brain and ask yourself, is there a part of me that thinks this isn't possible? Maybe this won't work. And if you want it to be possible, try working on your beliefs around UFOs, orbs, the general phenomenon. And if you start expanding that, which is basically working on your neuroplasticity, if you start researching, you start looking into it, you're slowly opening up your perception to it, which is creating new synapses around the topic. Mm-hmm. The more you do that, the more likely you are to be able to have an experience if it does occur around you now. So I don't know how often it occurs, but... If it's going to occur, you kind of need the synapse in place to have the experience of it. Otherwise, it could be happening. Your brain's omitting it. Your brain's tuning it out because it doesn't think it's important. But if you tell your brain, no, this is important, you'll start seeing it. And then if you're really struggling, you might have a limiting belief that you're not aware of, and that's what hypnosis is for. So come work with me and I can help you figure it out. But there's something cool here.
Work with her.
Work with me. If you want to see UFOs. I can't promise UFOs, so don't get your hopes up.
Not like Melinda. What's her name?
Yeah.
Melinda.
I don't promise. Sedona lady.
Leslie. Melinda Leslie.
Melinda Leslie. There you go. We got the names. All right.
I don't know.
So this is it for now. I guess I'll still ask you though. This was like the perception one. So.
Yes.
could you believe it now that if you work on your synapses, you can manifest new reality? I guess that's the thing. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too. Backed by data.
I mean, if a guy with no brain can do it.
Clearly, we don't know where consciousness... Well, we have some idea, but it's not what we've been told by scientists.
Scientists. I'm just kidding.
No, I don't know. There's real stuff going on here. Something else, I didn't even get to talk about this. Dr. Diane Hennessy was talking about the Akashic Records. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. And there was something really fascinating, and I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger. So
I was so hungover for this,
if
by the way.
you want to hear about this, I think the next episode we should do the Akashic Records, because personally I've been like,
I was supposed to
on that.
I was supposed to have a guest on the show, our first guest.
Okay, so
I'm
maybe
not gonna-
after our guest.
I'm not going to have a guest on Akashic Records.
Why not?
Not that guy.
You might like it.
He won't like it.
We'll see. Okay, I felt that way about it too, but then there's something interesting happening there. There's something interesting happening.
I
there.
gotta check.
It involves non-speakers,
Maybe he'll.
the spellers, telepathy tapes, and neuroscience. So,
Maybe this guy's gonna bail. I don't know. I gotta confirm.
well, we'll check. That's it for now. I certainly believe this. I guess you didn't ask me, but
You just kept talking.
because I'm so excited about it. How do you not get excited about this?
oh, yeah,
it's already
by
a
the
special
way.
interest, and we have neuroscientists. There's a whole contact event happening here, like Contact in the Desert, a whole conference about it. Yeah, I'm excited.
The whole conference wasn't about it.
Like 90%.
Um,
Okay, not 90. It's like 50. It was a lot. There was a lot. My conference, the ones I attended, was 90%.
do you believe it
So-
now, Sammy? Did you convince yourself? Okay.
I'm more convinced after going to those lectures and the research I did today for this, actually.
Some good
I was
research.
kind of like, I don't know. Like, I was thinking, oh, I don't know. I got to do the research. Like, maybe I'm just jumping to conclusions and I don't know enough. But I don't think it's as far-fetched as I originally thought. I think there's actually a lot of data here, and this is exciting. And I think more people need to know about it. Because when it comes to perception and how how beliefs are made, if you're not aware of the way that your brain is creating synapses and you're not aware of the way you're contributing to your perception of the world, you don't have any control over it. But if you can become aware of it, right, there's ways to increase your neuroplasticity, and it's going to be through movement, diet, sleep. Yes, there's genetic stuff, and you can inherit certain beliefs culturally and from your family, and that's where hypnosis, you might need some help to go identify those and extract them. But there's a lot you can do. One of the best things you can do is dancing. So if you want to try, or if you want to experiment with this, you could try doing a hypnosis session, but you could also, if you want to manifest something positive, find music that is about the thing you want to manifest and dance to it. Move your body, because it increases, because you have it's piezoelectric, your fascia, that's the connective tissue. It's piezoelectric, so when you move it, stretch it, bend it, or there's some impact on it, it conducts electricity, and it also helps with your neural connections. So movement is really, really good, and then if it's in a positive direction, you're going to create neural pathways in that way. So, and then if there's a topic, if there's like lyrics about the thing you want to manifest, it'll help you create new synapses about that thing. I also recommend reading stuff, because anytime you learn something new, do something new, you're creating new neural pathways. And then if you combine movement with that, good night's rest, and try to eat some veggies and fruits. Bless you, Ollie. Try it. Let me know. Come back here.
Anything else before we end this for the fifth time?
No, that's it. I got 10% battery.
All right. Well,
Okay. Well, stay tuned. I don't
thank
know.
you for joining us.
Either we'll have a guest next time, or we're going to talk about the Akashic Records.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We will see you later on the next episode of
Would you
Could You
believe it?
Now, starring Sammy
And Rob. It's not starring, it's just with us. Oh, man. Okay. Bye.
See ya.